And your name is?
Howard Davis.
Your occupation?
Diamond merchant.
And your specialist subject?
The life and music of Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan in 2 minutes, starting now. In 1965, Bob Dylan controversially went electric and was booed by many of his fans at a folk festival. Which festival was it?
Newport.
Yep. Which 1965 Dylan single begins with the lines, "You got a lot of nerve to say you're my friend. When I was down, you just stood there grinning"?
Positively 4th Street.
Yes. Dylan's early appearance at a club in Greenwich Village with the Greenbrier Boys was reviewed by the New York Times journalist Robert Shelton. What was the name of the club?
Gerdes Folk City.
Yes, on which Dylan album cover is he pictured walking in the West Village, New York, with his then-girlfriend Susie Rotolo?
Freewheeling Bob Dylan.
Yes, 2 Old Testament books are mentioned in the lyrics of Joker Man. One is Leviticus. What's the other?
Deuteronomy.
Yep. Dylan was unhappy with the test pressing of the Blood on the Tracks album, and despite it being nearly ready for release, he insisted on going into a Minneapolis studio to re-record parts of it. What was the name of the studio?
Pass.
On the double album Blonde on Blonde, recorded in Nashville in 1966, which track takes up the entire 4th side of the album and is over 11 minutes long?
Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands.
Yes, in 1978, Bob Dylan embarked on a world tour that started in Japan. What was the title of the double live album that was recorded at the Tokyo shows during the tour?
Bob Dylan at Budokan.
Yes, what was the venue for Dylan's 30th anniversary concert celebration, which featured artists such as Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash and Stevie Wonder in '92?
Madison Square Garden.
Yes, with which playwright did Dylan co-write the song Brownsville Girl, included on the '86 Knocked Out Loaded album?
Sam Shepard.
Yep, 2 weeks after the '69 Woodstock Festival had taken place near his home, Dylan headlined another festival for which he had signed a contract stating it would be his only festival appearance that summer. Which festival?
Isle of Wight.
Yep. One of Dylan's first bands was formed with his friends from a Jewish summer camp, Larry Kagan and Howard Ruttman. What did they call themselves?
The Jokers.
Yes. What was the name of the folk singer diagnosed with Huntington's career, whom Dylan went to visit a few days after arriving in New York for the first time in 1961?
Woody Guthrie.
Yes. Which Ivy League university awarded Dylan an honorary doctorate in 1970? The principal said... I'll start it so I'll finish. His music remains the authentic expression of the disturbed and concerned conscience of young America.
Princeton.
Is correct. You had 1 pass. It was the Sound 80 Studios, where he re-recorded parts of Blood on the Tracks. You have scored, Howard, 13 points. And your name is?
Chris Kilbride.
Your occupation?
Teacher.
And your specialist subject?
The life and music of Paul Robeson.
Paul Robeson in 2 minutes. In which New Jersey town was Paul Robeson born in April 1898, the son of an escaped slave from North Carolina?
Princeton.
Yes, what was the name of his fellow student who had enrolled in summer school classes at Columbia University in 1920 and whom Robeson married in the following year?
Islander Good.
Yes. For which American company did Robeson sign his first recording contract in 1925? It ensured his fame as the leading interpreter of spirituals.
Victor.
Yes. Which composer first approached Robeson in 1926 with the song Old Man River and asked him to appear as Joe in the musical Showboat?
Jerome Kern.
Yes. What is the title of the patriotic cantata originally called Ballad for Uncle Sam that was first sung by Robeson on CBS Radio in 1939 and instantly became a hit?
Ballad for Americans.
Yes, in 1920, while studying law at Columbia University, Robeson helped pay his fees by starting to play professional football. For which team did he first appear?
Firstly, Akron Pros.
Yes, to which London restaurant were Robeson and his wife invited in 1929, only to be refused a table, even though they had eaten there previously? The incident caused a political stir.
Savoy Grill.
Yes. In which city did Robeson attend a World Peace Congress in April 1949 and make a speech that would do irreparable damage to his credibility when he was later misquoted as saying black Americans should not fight for their country?
Paris.
Yes. At what venue in June 1937 did Robeson attend a giant rally in support of the Republicans in Spain where he sang and made a rousing speech?
Truari.
It's the Albert Hall. In defiance of a ban prohibiting him from leaving the United States, Robeson gave a concert in 1952 in a park overlapping the border between Washington State and British Columbia. What was the name of the park?
Peace Arch Park.
Yes, Robeson had a large following in Wales. What's the title of the 1940 film in which he plays David Goliath, a black miner working in the coalfields of Wales who wins the respect of the miners through his singing?
Pass.
During Robeson's last concert tour, begun in 1960, he became the first performer to sing at a now world-famous venue when he entertained the construction workers. What was the venue?
Sydney Opera House.
Is correct. You had one pass. The title of that 1940 film, where he played David Goliath, was Proud Valley. It's come to you since, hasn't it? Just the one pass. Chris, you have 10 points.
Thank you.
And your name is?
Ron Wood.
Your occupation?
Clergyman.
And your chosen subject?
The Byrds.
The Byrds, in 2 minutes. What's the title of the song written by Bob Dylan that gave the Byrds their first hit single in 1965? It topped the charts on both sides of the Atlantic.
Mr. Tambourine Man.
Yes, which singer-songwriter adapted the words from Ecclesiastes for the song Turn, Turn, Turn? It became the band's second #1 single in the US in '65.
Pete Seeger.
Yes, what was the name of the former Beatles press officer who did public relations work for the Byrds in the early days of the band?
Derek Taylor.
Yes, what was the name of the producer, the son of the singer Doris Day, who produced the band's first 2 albums?
Terry Melcher.
Yep, which song, mainly associated with Vera Lynn, was the last track on side 2 of the band's first album, Mr. Tambourine Man?
We'll Meet Again.
Yes, what's the name of the supper club in Los Angeles, where the band had a residency during spring '65, allowing them to hone their performance and distinctive sound?
Cyro's Le Disc.
Yes, what distinctive article of green suede clothing did David Crosby habitually wear on stage in the early days of the band?
Sort of cape.
Yep. Which band shared a stage with the Byrds for the first time in Boston in February '69? It was the first of a number of on-stage collaborations between the bands who, over the course of time, had several band members in common.
The Flying Burrito Brothers.
Yes, who was the only one of the 3 band members actually to play his instrument on the track Mr. Tambourine Man, as experienced session musicians provided the rest of the backing.
Jim McGuinn, or Roger McGuinn.
What was the name of the road manager who played guitar on the band's South African tour of '68 as a replacement for the country rock pioneer Graham Parsons, who'd recently left?
Carlos Bernal.
Yes, their 1970 double album, Untitled, comprises live and studio recordings, a live version of which song takes up the entire second side?
8 Miles High.
Correct. A brief commitment to which Indonesian religious movement led Jim McGuinn to change his name to Roger in 1967 after he'd been told by the founder to choose a name beginning with R?
Sabud.
Yes. Who replaced Michael Clarke as the drummer with the band in 1968 after Clarke was fired?
Gene Parsons.
Kevin Kelly. What was the title of the band's 6th studio album released in 1968 that was the only album by the band to feature Graham Parsons?
Sweetheart of the Rodeo.
Is correct. So, you got them all right. Apart from that one, you scored, Ron, 13 points.
Thank you.
And your name is?
Anne-Marie Roseman.
Your occupation?
Solicitor.
And your chosen subject?
Abba.
Abba, in 2 minutes. Starting now, in 1974, the Swedish pop group Abba won the Eurovision Song Contest with Waterloo. In which English city was that year's competition held?
Brighton.
Yes, 3 members of Abba, Benny, Björn and Agneta, were born in Sweden. But in which country was Frida born? She moved to Sweden at the age of 2 with a grandmother.
Norway.
Yes, when the 2 men in Abba first met, Benny was playing keyboards with a folk band called the Hep Stars. What was the name of the band that Björn was a member of at the time?
Hootenanny Stingers.
Yes, which 1976 release, their 4th UK chart topper, gave Abba their only American #1 single the following year.
Dancing Queen.
Yes, what's the title of the last studio album that Abba recorded together? It was released in November '81 and was their 7th consecutive UK chart-topping album.
The Visitors.
Yes, in which Canadian city's Northland Coliseum did Abba's North American tour kick off in September '79?
Ottawa.
Edmonton. What was the name of the group's longtime manager who also co-wrote many of the lyrics on their early albums?
Stig Anderson.
Yes, the publishing royalties from a '79 ABBA single were donated to UNICEF as part of the UN's International Year of the Child. What was the single?
Chiquitita.
Yes, ABBA the movie primarily features concert footage from the group's '77 tour of which country?
Australia.
Yes, which song from an August '82 recording session was the last the group recorded together? Its working title was The Suffering Bird.
Thank you for the music.
The Day Before You Came. Which song gave ABBA their 2nd gold disc in America? It was a top 3 hit and their only other top 5 single thereafter, Dancing Queen.
I Do, I Do, I Do.
Take a Chance on Me. When the group had finally decided on the name ABBA, they had to get permission to use it from a Swedish company of the same name. What product did that company sell?
Canned fish.
Yes. With what song did ABBA first try to enter the Eurovision Song Contest? They finished 3rd in the '73 Swedish qualifying competition.
Ring Ring.
Yes. On which label were all of ABBA's records released in America?
Atlantic.
Yes. What is the name of the album that Benny and Bjorn released together in 1970? The album features a track called Hey Old Man, which had backing vocals from both Agneta and Frida, and its title translates into English as Happiness.
Leica.
Yes, is correct. No passes, Anne-Marie. You have 12 points.